Thursday at 5 p.m. for Likkle Byte Ideas, where we discuss how Likkle ideas are transformed into big dreams. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Likkle Byte Ideas. I am Doreed Whitlock. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Samuel Fields Consulting Group, and we are delighted that you've chosen to join us for yet another episode. Please take note that we are on Wednesdays now regularly. You may not be watching this live, so we've switched from Thursday to Wednesday. We need to get our video updated. So bear with us as we launch into season 3 of Likkle Byte Ideas. As usual, I don't do the show alone, so let me get my co-host in here, Megan Samuel Fields, the CEO of Samuel Fields Consulting Group.
Good afternoon, Doreed, and good afternoon to our viewers and listeners. Great to have you with us this wonderful Wednesday afternoon.
Great. And how has your week been? Weeks go by so quickly.
Oh my gosh, this week has been a busy one for me, but it's been rewarding. So I would say it's been a good one. What about you?
Pretty much the same. Always a lot going on, but you have to manage your time,
Absolutely.
Manage your health, and we continue forward.
And today started off really great, didn't it?
Today
you were on
ABS.
Great.
Yes, we got a call last night that ABS wanted us to be on their show this morning.
Yeah.
Not sure what good fortune came our way, but we thought it was such, we rose to the challenge, got our Zoom faces ready, and we were on and promoted the show. So hopefully we got some listeners who heard us this morning who are joining us today. And as we mentioned this morning, we have a really great show lined up. Today, let me get the topic correctly. We're talking about how managing financial stress can impact your health and lead to self-improvement. And as you recall, this is September. We are celebrating Self-Improvement Month in all aspects of your life. Today, however, we are going to focus on your health, how financial stress can actually impact. It can make you physically ill, mentally ill, yes, but it can also make you physically ill over a period of time. We are delighted to be joined in our studio, our virtual studio, by Dr. Olseth. Did I get it right?
You
Olseth Bowen.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to Samuel Fields and Doreed Whitlock. I hope I got that name pronounced.
You did.
Yeah.
People with unusual names, we always make that effort.
Yes, we do. So good night to everyone who's listening by media. I'm Dr. Olseth Bowen. I am born Antiguan. Love to say that I'm Antiguan, proud of my country. I have spent a few years living in other countries, though, where I pursued my studies. I spent some time living in Cuba, where I did my undergrad in.
Oh, that's exciting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Habla español.
Hablo español.
Muy bien.
Fantastic.
Yes. And sometimes also living in Jamaica, where I did my specialty in emergency medicine. So I practice in Antigua at Bowen Medical, which is my private business. And also I chair the emergency department at Mount St. John's. So a little bit about me. And yes, devote my time to assisting others. And today we are going to dive in a bit to the financial health.
So important, huh?
It's so important.
Yeah.
Yes. So you told us a bit about your background and your training. What do you like to do? You're a doctor, you're a mom. What do you like to do? How do you spend your time?
Oh, wow. So what time is left of the 24 hours?
I was wondering.
I spend my time at the beach.
Lovely.
Nice.
So I enjoy going to Devil's Bridge and just sitting down.
How far
so
is it
I
from your
enjoy
home?
I enjoy the view of the water.
Oh, wow. Do you
I
live
find
close
it
by?
not to Devil's Bridge, but I'll drive.
Oh,
I'll
wow.
drive to any beach in Antigua. I'll drive to Pigeons Point. I'll drive to Devil's Bridge. I
That's
enjoy going to
wonderful.
Pigeons Point because it's always cool. So I stop
Yeah.
at Sweet Teas on my way.
Oh,
I
yes,
enjoy
There
those
you
absolutely.
go.
afternoons. And I'll also just go to Devil's Bridge and just sit
Nice.
and just watch the waves splash and just enjoy the good time.
That
That's
is
good therapy right
wonderful.
there.
That's good
Yeah.
therapy. Wow. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't expecting
Nice.
that answer. Yep. So what inspired you to choose a profession in medicine?
So, as a child, I always wanted to be a doctor. It was either doctor or nurse. And there are a few things about nursing that as I grew older and I would help others, I don't like changing Pampers. So that was always a thing. That was a
I,
changing point from a
who
long
does?
time. But there was always the desire to help others. There was always a desire. I've lived with others who suffered with chronic illnesses from childhood. I've had siblings with asthma who always been in the hospital like every month. I've had relatives who are no longer with me who live with sickle cell disease. And there was always this, need to assist, need to help, even if from a childhood, just to pat someone in the back or to assist them with a cup of water, to bring them medication, to see them be relieved. And I think that's where the desire and the basically love for medicine grew. And as time passed, anyone who's in medicine, you never really know what your calling is going to be. But there was a point in
Wow.
time where I spent a few years in the emergency department where I realized that, this is me. This is what I know I can do and give my best and my all to. And that's where I am.
Nice.
Fantastic.
I
Wow.
think whatever you do in life, you really have to ask yourself, if you were not paid to do it, would you still be able to do it? If a world war
Absolutely.
broke out,
That's a good
you
question to
still get up
ask.
and go. And yeah, I'd still get up and go.
Good for you.
So, what's a typical day in the, I'm not sure if I should say emergency room, but what's a typical day for you at the hospital?
So let's start from getting up in the morning, because you have different days. You have days when you're on duty, and those days you get up and your mind says, okay, I can calm down. Today's not the day I have to go in. But then you go to sleep the night before realizing, okay, I got to go to work tomorrow. So you got to get good rest in. You got to try to, because you don't know if you'll be able to sleep the next day. You don't know how many
Right.
hours sleep you'll get. So that's the first thing you have to prepare yourself. Everyone doesn't drink coffee, but I start my day. It should be with exercise, let me just say. But some days, most days, it's at least with a nice cup of coffee, because it kind of sets
Nice.
the mood, sets the mind. If you're late, it'll probably come with you in the car. If you're early, you're probably rare, but you're able to sit and actually enjoy that cup of coffee.
All right.
And then you kind of, basically in your mind, you kind of brace yourself for whatever may come, because that's
Mhm.
unlike other specialties. That's the emergency room. You can get from the near death, the resuscitations, to the bump on the toe. So you have to basically gauge yourself and prepare your mind for anything that's going to happen. And it's anything that's going to happen at any time of the day, very spontaneous. So you may go in and you may begin to do one thing, and before you know it, everything's chaotic. Or some days it may be just calm and,
Mhm.
like that word too much, because the wave and the roar is soaring come after. But your typical days, you go in and you have to review the floor and know everyone who's there, prepare if anyone's critical that the status may change. And then in between that, you have everyone else who wants to be seen, everyone else who has questions need to be seen, and everyone, there are different levels of emergency, but in our society, everyone's an emergency. So
I can
the
imagine.
doctors, they will tell you they need to be seen now, but then you also have, the chronic illnesses like the complications for hypertension and diabetes, which is something we're going to go into today, like the strokes, the heart attack. You have the family members who have patients who are terminally ill, and they may know this. You have patients who know that they may not make it to tomorrow, and you have
Right.
to be there with them. You have patients who are stressed and they have their own different thoughts. And I remember during COVID, we had a spike in like suicidal ideations. And in an emergency room, all of these things can come to you one behind the other,
Gotcha.
including, we do resuscitations. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. And even if it is or it's not, we have to speak with family members. And this can be a trying time sometimes. Someone was there
I
last
can
week with
imagine.
a relative, and they're back today with another. And then they're really,
Oh,
sometimes we have the deliveries that come in, that's a different type of excitement. That's, sometimes you just can't make it upstairs, you deliver downstairs.
oh
So
wow.
it's so dynamic. There's
So
so much
no,
I could say.
no 2 days are the same.
Nope, no 2 hours in one day.
That is
Wow,
You
wow.
that
could
is
be seated
hilarious.
there for 2 hours, and then as something happens, and it could be tragic, it could be beautiful, more we emergency. So most times it's really life, that we're concerned
Hmm.
about. And
Mhm.
that's the day winds down, or it doesn't wind down. It may just go right into the next day. So that is a true 24 hours. You could start off today, and tomorrow you could still be there, depending on your role, depending on your function.
Whoa.
So
Okay,
that's a
very
true thing that no
interesting.
one sees. That's the untold.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
interesting. Well, but let's switch gears a bit. And how would you characterize the relationship between financial stress and physical health?
So, financial stress and physical health, although we may not take it serious or we may not relate to the two, are directly related.
Mm.
And I can give you examples. So, in terms of stress overall, and I always tell my patients there's no pill for stress.
Hmm.
So, you come in with so many different complaints, and sometimes it all boils down to stress. And then I will tell them, well, we're going to have to sit and really talk about this, because I do not have anything to write on a prescription pad today for you. I have to discuss with you how we're going to control this, because it is directly related. And a lot of studies have actually shown that people who have financial stress actually do have heart disease. Sometimes
Hmm.
they're known, sometimes they're unknown. And that is a direct relation that has been shown between not only stress, but even more specific, financial stress with
Wow.
heart disease. When I say heart disease, heart failure, heart attacks, patients needing heart surgery. And if a study can actually show you that when it comes to the effects on your heart and financial stress, that there's a direct communication, that's the first point to make that there is a relation. And I'm
Hmm.
sure a lot of people who are listening can relate to, sometimes they're having different epigastric discomforts, or they're having anxiety, sometimes palpitations, and they may relate it to stress. And if they dig a little further, they may realize that some of it is related to financial stress, or may have started after or as a result of financial stress.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what would you say are some of the early signs of financial stress?
Well, let's think about it. Let's think about stress, and then look at financial stress. So when you're stressed, or when we're happy, we tend to have better relationship with everyone else. We tend not to be triggered by minor things and be bothered, or we tend not to be irritated or give, adverse responses.
Hmm.
But when you're stressed, or when you have financial stress more specifically, you may find that you tend to argue a little bit more,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to financial discussions. So, I mean, someone may say they need something, and because you're aware of the financial restraints, you realize that where you may not have argued about it last year when you were employed and working, now, before you try to look at a resolution, discuss if it's necessary, you begin to argue. People
Hmm.
talking about finances in the house, you just begin to argue, right? You may become sometimes depressed, sad, withdrawn. These are signs of financial stress. So someone comes and someone says, Mom, I need a shoe. Why you always mash up the shoe? I give you, how much shoes you expect to use for school?
Mhm.
Your
And
foot
that's
go
what
too,
kids do.
your foot like
That's what kids.
your grandfather foot. You just start arguing. And
That's
sometimes,
That's
hilarious, but it's
true.
so true.
everyone is looking at you like, what just happened? But you begin to argue. You may become withdrawn or you may become depressed. So you don't want to really speak about it. You don't want to let anyone know what's happening because you're not the person who's had financial stress before. So you may go out less because then if you go out with your friends this weekend, what is the bill going to come to? Can you tell them,
Yes.
let's choose a cheaper restaurant? Or can you suggest a cheaper restaurant? You understand? Can you simply, or you just become withdrawn, you're depressed, you're not going to specifically want to do anything with anyone because do you want to buy new clothes, are you going to need to buy something, you know you begin to worry a lot because what's going to
Yes.
happen next month, and COVID did that to a lot of people.
Mhm.
I can
Yeah.
What's going to
imagine.
happen next month? You may have things like alopecia, your hair may fall out, you may get patches in your hair, in your head, and you're not even recognizing that it's not lack of treatment, it's not lack of, you're worrying of what's going
Mm.
to happen next year, you're worrying about what's going to happen with the mortgage, what's going to happen with, I promised you could go to college, you could go to school, you'll have difficulty sleeping.
Hmm.
And then imagine if you don't rest well in the night, because you're not me, who I'm accustomed to not sleeping in the night. When you get up the next morning, you're even more tired, you're even more irritated. You just may not know exactly what it is that, you're going to expect for your day. And then you begin to struggle. You begin struggling, you begin withdrawn, everything changes, your diet changes,
Yeah.
your sleep pattern changes, your rest, and then your overall appearance now begin to
Mhm.
change.
Wow.
And that's when people think they can see stress on you. But the
Yeah.
early signs would have started, the little arguing here, you're a bit irritable, withdrawn, your diet changes financially, or sometimes you tend to now junk eat, you're depressed, and then you begin to gain weight. And then that doesn't help the overall mind and body
Mhm.
because now there's not
It's
even
a,
a little lipstick or makeup to put a smile on your face. Your
Yeah.
right.
overall appearance now becomes very, very low. And these
Mhm.
are the early
Wow.
signs. Sometimes you cannot identify it yourself. It may take someone else to
Hmm.
actually draw it to your attention, because when you become locked in with everything happening around you, you tend just to function with what needs to be done. If nothing needs to be done, you may not even get up out of bed. You
Mm.
may not
Hmm.
want to roll out and take a shower. You may just want to lay there. These are signs that something is definitely not your norm and
Hmm.
something is wrong.
Yeah.
Very, very early signs.
Yeah.
So that's
Um,
very good information. So tell me, what are some of the symptoms that really tell you that, things are getting serious? This is becoming way too toxic for your health. What are some of the signs that, as if this thing progresses, what can people expect?
Well, the signs are usually noted by those who are closest to you.
hmm.
And even though you may listen now, and I may say some of the signs, will you be willing to accept that these are signs that you really need to pay attention to? So the first thing is, in terms of sign, you have to listen to what others may be saying because they truly want to help.
Hmm.
You have to know who to trust, because that's another thing that a lot of people, they may even realize and admit that something is wrong, but who can they
Right.
trust to
Yes.
tell?
And it's a
Not to
personal
judge
matter,
them. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
personal, it's not everybody you want to tell your financial business to.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't want people to judge you. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't want to be judged, and
Yeah.
your character as to what you're known to fame may have been or
Mhm.
is. You may not want to basically let anyone know that this is not my status anymore.
Yeah.
But then the first thing is you have to be willing to accept that something is wrong and there's a change. And if you may not identify it and someone says it to you, the first thing you have to do is re-examine yourself and say, look in the mirror, really ask yourself, is what this person said to me, is it true? Am I changing? Is my attitude changing? My attitude towards others, my attitude towards my loved ones. And it becomes really that of concern, especially when you become withdrawn.
Yeah.
Okay.
when you're withdrawn from others, when you're withdrawn, and when you're not in a position to address your most. So we have different type of financial stress, but there's some bills in our lives that are very important. And when
Absolutely.
it is that you cannot address those,
Your
that the
basics.
necessity, basic necessity
Yeah.
of life.
Yes.
So there's financial stress because I cannot do name brand anymore. That's a financial stress for
For
someone.
some people, yes.
Um,
Okay, but that's a it's really not for me, but it's a financial
neither
stress
me.
for people
Neither
because you
me.
can't do the name brand anymore and you're having a panic over it.
Mhm.
But then it becomes a financial stress becomes worrisome when you cannot address the basic needs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And if
Hmm.
you see you're suffering in terms of the basic needs, electricity, water, food, right?
I think
And
especially if you have a child involved,
Of course. And you can't
it's
provide
not
for your
able
just
to
child.
yourself.
Yeah.
provide,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not only children, because we tend to forget that some people have the necessity when it comes to children, but then some people have elderly parents that are
Right.
dependent on them, just
All
like
kinds of
children.
Yeah.
responsibilities. Yep.
So true.
They need Pampers, they need Glucerna, they need milk, they need a caregiver to roll them and turn them in the day. They need someone else to be there so you can go to
Yes.
work. So, it's not even only children. When you realize that the ability to provide those basic necessities are basically no longer available, and also when you yourself cannot cope with this, you cannot function on a day to day, then this is definitely someone who needs assistance.
Yeah. Right. And I
You
don't
know,
know
uh-huh.
from the medical side, if someone comes and you recognize that they're experiencing stress, which is related to financial difficulty. I don't know that there is a particular place that you can send them to.
Or a medication that you
Oh,
can prescribe.
well, I think you'd said there's no medication per
There's
se.
nothing for stress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, stress, so you can have different levels. So you can have patients who present with signs and symptoms of stress. They may present with palpitations. Yes, you can
Mhm.
give something for palpitation.
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes they present with just simple things as acid reflux, what we
Ah,
call GERD, gastric esophageal reflux disease, because
from
stress can
stress.
actually cause you to have the result of ulcers, just
Wow.
Mm.
stress
Hmm.
in your
Oh,
stomach.
wow.
And then you have to be on a lot of medications to basically control this. Now,
Hmm.
it's pretty interesting because you have stress, financial stress in different categories in different ages of life. So, for example, one of the things that have stressed out a lot of the elderly population is the time of retirement and pension. So, a
Hmm.
lot of
Absolutely.
people look forward to that at the age of 60. So, I'm going to use that as a first example. And when you were now 59 and it was moved to 61, and then you turn it and it's moved to
Hmm.
63,
Yeah.
you become so tired because for
Yeah.
years you've been looking forward to walk off that job at 60 and just live
Exactly.
a simple life. And then now you've been forced to
To work
work
longer.
longer. And what I had to
Hmm.
do with those patients is, one, I had to ask them to accept the change because you're stressed, you're depressed, husbands and wife are fighting over it. I mean, no one's going anywhere. No one can take a cruise and everyone's frustrated. 2 more years, 3 more years, I may even die before that. What's going to happen?
Wow.
And some
Wow.
people, you decide, if you take early retirement, how would I manage? How would I cope? And then you tell people, as a doctor, you sit down in your office and you say, you need to sit down and you really need to look at how much money is your cost of living per month.
Yep.
And how many children do you have? Are you willing to hold a family meeting with them and explain to them the honest truth is you did plan, you were not going to be a burden on them, and let them know, for my living, let's say it's $800 per month now because we don't owe for the house. I want to stop working. Out of my 4 children, can I ask you to give me $200 per month for the next year until I catch up? And I said, until you ask, and you ask for that assistance, I mean, even if you
Just
want
never
to
know.
volunteer, you just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing for one couple who did that. The kids were like, we understand. We were just waiting for you to accept that you're going to have to stop. I see her today. She looks awesome because she has no
Oh,
worries. I
nice.
mean, she was able to leave the job
Mhm.
and she feels much better and she finds more time to help the children with the grandchildren because
Right.
it's just the obligation now to get up and still get ready and beat the traffic and go. That was a stress because this person was tired. So first you have to encourage people to be open and have an open accept that you can't change everything. I
Yes.
love the serenity prayer because there's some things you can change and there's
And
some things you just cannot change. And
and
Right.
you just have to accept that.
you have to
Yep.
have the courage to know the difference
Yep.
of
Yeah.
which ones, and then after that, that you can change, you have to step forward and make a change. And you have to know
Yes.
when it's time to cut
Perfect.
down. And
That's
then
a
you have,
very good point.
yeah, you
I
Yeah.
like
do.
that.
So
Well,
Yeah.
open
let's take.
conversation
Uh-huh.
is
Go
very
right ahead.
important.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's take a break and let's see if we have any questions. When we come back, we're going to talk about stress relievers, what we can do to manage the stress. We can't avoid it, but we certainly can look into ways to manage it. So we're going to look at stress relievers and then some of the steps that we can take to avoid or to manage financial stress and to embark on a path of self improvement, which is what this show is all about. So, Megan, are there any questions or
There are no
comments?
questions, they're just greetings. So Fanny King says, hello, good afternoon. So those who are on, if you want to send questions, now is a good time. And Benji, who I suspect is Pastor Benjamin, says, good afternoon. And of course, Miriam Samuel was on even before the show started, and she says, good afternoon, Likkle Byte. I am waiting. So Miriam Samuel, I hope you are still there. In fact, I
Great.
know you are still there.
Well, just a pleasant good evening to all of our listeners, viewers. We're happy to have you. If you have questions, certainly financial stress is something that all of us have dealt with at some point in our
At
lives
some point,
and probably
absolutely.
still dealing with it on some levels. So we're happy that you're here. Please send us your questions. The doctor is in the house and she can help you with some tips that we can all use to embark on a path of self-improvement.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Bowen, let's talk about stress relievers. What would you recommend in terms of managing financial stress? What should we be doing?
So first, we should try to avoid financial stress. That's the first thing. And unfortunately, managing financial stress should be something that should be taught in school. I'll tell you,
Hmm.
that's
Great.
my opinion.
Wow.
It
Okay.
should be
Mhm.
something that you educate young people about. It should be like when you get that part in life and then you suffering and then you go like, nobody taught me this.
Yeah.
No one taught you how to deal with these things. And
Agreed.
this would be something that we should teach, right? It would help a lot of young people along the way. And it is something that we should also in households pass on from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of allowing generations to make the same mistakes or even worse mistakes, we should set the foundation that every generation should improve. So we should educate our children and
Yes.
live healthier lives to educate our grandchildren to avoid.
Mhm.
Now, one of the things, I'll go back even to the young, is that our generation is not one specifically that tend to set things in place so the other generation should have less financial stress. Our culture doesn't really give to that, but it's something we can copy from other cultures where people work very hard to set things in place so the other generation have a early a early head start in the race.
Right. Right. A
That
safety net.
a safety net. Thank
Yep.
you. Right. And that actually is one of the things and the base to avoiding financial stress. But then you want to avoid it to be able to, well, remedy it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into some of the things that we can do to avoid it. So, one, living within your means. And people say living within your means. Yeah, living within your means. And if you don't know, or you don't know the options for living in your means, there's so many platforms that you can tap into. There are financial advisors that can guide you. I know different, this show is a other way to assist people in understanding how to live within their means. Every time you go online, the credit union, the Scotiabank, the ECAP, they're always inviting people to come in to understand how to budget and how to live within their means. And
Mhm.
then it's important to pay your essential bills. That's a way to avoid financial
Absolutely.
stress.
Yes.
Just get all the basic necessities and essentials out the way.
Yes.
Like, people laugh at me. You do that first, and then I go to the supermarket, because at least if I do that first and I'm out of the supermarket, when I'm in the supermarket, I don't have to worry about other things. I can kind of do
Yes.
what I want and be happy about it. So you get all the essential bills out of the way. There's still people who do not believe in paid essential bills. And I ask them why. They say because it's a bill that never go away. Why would you want to pay AUP all the time on time? The bill would never
Huh?
go away. Yes. And that's the mentality. Listen to me.
But if it doesn't go away, there are consequences. I mean, if you don't pay it, there are consequences. I mean, that's the flip side of it.
They'll
It
tell the
never.
people that, but in their minds, like, why would you pay off APUA? You're gonna be paying them forever. So there's nothing wrong with owing them.
Oh
There's
my
something wrong. It
goodness.
causes you stress. But I don't know if it doesn't cause you stress, that's another problem.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely.
It's another problem. You may want to also look at altering the way you earn money. So instead of having one stream of income, look at time management, right? Look at it. Look at time management. Look at the 24 hours in the day, with still conserving your health. What are the other simple talents you have? What are the other skills you
Yes.
have? And a lot of people have skills and talents and they don't know. You're already preventing financial stress by
Right.
already being innovative. I know so many people, they work from 8 to 4, and I get my cookies in the evening for my kids' class. And she does an awesome job. She says, when you want it all set, you want it in the morning or you want it in the evening. I get home from work for 6, just make sure you order 3 days in advance, because she has to balance her time. Floral arrangements. There's so many other creative. So
Yeah,
that's
there's so many
alternative
gifts.
income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot sauce,
You understand what
sugar
I'm saying?
cake,
A part of
fudge,
it, I think, is for us to acknowledge that we all have gifts.
We all have it.
And it's to find a way to turn those gifts
Yeah. How do
into
you
making
monetize
some
them?
money.
Yes.
And a lot of times you see this show, Likkle Byte Ideas. We speak about having an idea and sharing it with someone else. Perhaps you have an idea and you probably just need to share it with your best friend or
Yes.
share it with somebody else
Ooh.
Or a
who will just,
stranger.
yeah,
A stranger. Somebody
And
in the
that
waiting room.
person, will shed the light on it that
yeah,
you never thought of. And then
Exactly.
that could be your Bill Gates.
there you
You
go.
just
Simple.
never
There
know
you
how
go.
far it
Simple.
can go. And people have different talents and they may think it cannot generate income. Even simple things like poetry,
Ah, interesting.
short stories,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things are, you have Instagram, you have so many different avenues of
Mm-hmm.
advertising your talent. And I think this
Absolutely.
is something that a lot of people, need to get up and realize that these are other alternative methods of income, alternative streams
Absolutely.
of income. And then you can take this now and you can then, with financial advice, be creative and then create a balance, right? And you have to first acknowledge these things in life to be able to avoid financial stress. So if you begin to teach it in the schools, you're already avoiding financial stress for the generations to come,
Yeah.
right? Or at least for your direct generations to come. And if you look within yourself and you prioritize,
Mhm.
when do I want to own a house? How do I save money? How much money do I save? What do I give up to save money? How long do I give this up for? What is my end term goal? Do I want to give it up for a 2-year period? Is it a long term? Do I have to give up something for 5 years because I know I can still do it in 5 years? How much am I going to save? And what's my discipline? What's my
Awesome.
discipline? And then There are other things such as like insurance. Speak to your advisors. Don't just pay insurance because you think you need to pay insurance. Speak to your advisors and find out, how do you pay something that can benefit you in the end.
Right.
Sometimes you pay things and then you become depressed because you've been paying it for so many years. And when you really sit down and think about it, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So maybe everyone should take some time and go to their advisors and say, if I pay a little more, how do I get something that I can get back in a few years?
And I think part of the problem is, because I love everything you've said, is what we have been saying. It's
Absolutely.
spot on.
I'm like, is this a doctor or a financial advisor?
A doctor/financial advisor here.
I'm telling you.
But I think part of the problem is that, and I don't know if it's the way we were raised or society or a combination of both. Part of the problem, we don't want to talk about it. And that's what this show is trying to do. We have to talk about the fact that, listen, some of us might not be financially okay. And while that's not okay, it's okay to talk about it, because there must be a solution, and there are solutions, but we have to first talk about it, find the right persons that will help to guide you. And as you say, come up with your plan. Where do you expect to be in 2 years? Where do you expect to be in 4 years? And our motto is little by little. If you start little by little, you will get there. But it starts with, as you've said, Dr. Bowen, acknowledging, recognizing that there is a problem, and then trying to find ways to solve the problem.
Right, because what are the consequences of these problems? Now we're looking at patients who have financial stress. You end up in depression. After you're depressed and you're on medication, sometimes if it's caught early, all of your signs and symptoms actually do resolve if you're on medication for depression. I've seen patients, elderly patients, because they can open and speak, everything resolves. And their patients just with medication, all of their anxieties and all of their reactions, whether it be frequent visits to the hospital because of this anxiety, now that they've controlled their depression because of any reason, any stress, all of these signs and medical symptoms go away. You don't even see them after a while. You just have to wave to them.
That's so interesting.
Hey, all right. They're like, yes, it's a good man. I don't see you. I come say hi. But you're happy for them.
Yeah, that's great.
That resolution and it's been resolved. But then, what you don't want is to end up with the effects like a stroke, a heart attack. And imagine having these things compounded on financial disaster.
Oh my goodness. It's all over.
And so, Dr. Bowen, are you saying that a heart attack or a stroke could be caused by financial stress?
The studies show that heart disease overall is directly related to financial stress.
Wow.
But other illnesses that are related to financial stress is migraine headaches.
Wow.
Yep.
Migraine headaches is one thing that's directly related to financial stress. Diabetes, and you can see because you're not sleeping well, sometimes you're not even hydrated well, and then there's certain areas in the brain that will trigger these headaches off.
Wow.
And then you end up with really severe headaches. Then there's diabetes, and diabetes for so many reasons that are clear when it comes to financial stress. The diet changes your intake, what you can afford to eat. I mean, we can all attest that it's so much more expensive to purchase a salad over rice, pasta, and
cornmeal and flour.
You understand? And then these are the things that trigger the obesity.
Yeah.
And the sedentary lifestyle, and not even want to get up and exercise. And then, especially if you're genetically prone, then you have diabetes, sleep disturbances, which will also make migraines worse. All of these are illnesses that are directly related to not just stress, but financial stress.
Wow.
And I will not take depression out of it. Depression is an illness, just like
it's real.
diabetes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
That
real.
needs treatment, that should not be pushed aside by society.
And that's one we don't want to talk about.
You don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I don't think we have the tools necessarily, in our in our society. I'm seeing more openness to accepting it.
Yes,
But
yes.
10, 20 years
Growing up,
ago, it was, you just complained too much, you're soft. It wasn't something that people took seriously. But I think an important note and something that we push a lot is financial literacy in schools. So
Yes.
I think it's bigger than even the financial stress. I think once people are more financially literate and they understand, they have the tools to manage money, they understand how money impacts their lives and how they can control money as opposed to having the money control them. Once children get that kind of rooting, that kind of
yes.
education early, it can go a long way. I remember I've said this on the show before. I have a friend who said to me, "Do your daughters have bank accounts?" And I'm like, "Why do they need a bank account?" In my head, they were like 14 or 15. Why do they need a bank account? I give them money when they need it. Why do they need that? And he said to me that he had opened a bank account for his daughter, and he's glad that he did because once she got to college, she had the ability to manage her money. So from giving her $20 a week and having her learn to manage that, she goes to the drugstore to buy her little nail polish or buy a little juice or coffee or something, giving her that kind of training once, and being very rigid about her managing her bank account. By the time she was ready to go to school, you know, they were more comfortable allowing her to manage her money. I mean, she needed to know how to keep her balances in the
It's
positive, and
important.
yeah, and so
And there's also consequences to spending off all your money too, because
exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly.
I have my
Absolutely.
girl saved, and then I remember we traveled this year, and before one of my daughters, before you know it, she was like, "But I don't have that much more money left," and I said, "Because you spent it. You have more bags than everyone else." And my other daughter said, and then she said, "So who's gonna give me some money?" And I said, "I don't know. Did all your money go? You're gonna give us
Consequences.
the
Yep.
consequences for spending
Yes,
all your
Absolutely.
yes,
money."
yes.
And
Absolutely.
at the end of it, she said, "Well, next time I'm not going to do this. I'm going to wait and I'm going to see what I need and what I want because now,"
Mm-hmm.
she says, "no one's giving me any money." And I said, "No, no one's going to get it." I was very serious. No one's going to give you any money. It
Yep.
wasn't because I'm mean. I mean, the necessities, yes, but no, no one's going to give you any more money because
And that's how
Exactly.
real life works. We
That's
that's
have
how
to
real life
we
works. You
have to get
spend
them
it, you
on
don't
that
have
track.
it.
This is
that's
how
it. You
life
just don't have
works.
it, and you have things. You're gonna do
Yes.
what you can with those things. But as for the money part, I was just like, no, I'm not gonna give you. Spent your money.
Yep.
You didn't spend it on us. There's a consequence. So now it's finished. It's finished quicker than everyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, but you should give me. I said, no, I should not.
So we have a few more comments. So if we can go to them.
Sure.
Althea Dyer says, "Hi, good program." Hi, Althea. Antigua Nice 3 says, "My stress presented with near fainting and blackouts."
Oh
That's
no.
interesting. I am on medication.
Oh no.
That is really
Sorry to
interesting
hear that.
because, people, I guess, as you were saying, Dr. Bowen, they stress is presented in different ways.
Yes.
So, wow. Um, And then Antigua Nice 3 says adulting. And that's probably something we need to speak about at another time.
Yep.
Adulting. I like that
Adulting is
Definitely.
one.
real.
We
Definitely.
need to speak about adulting
Definitely.
because, as I
Adulting.
said, in school, no one trains you for this. No one
Yep.
trains
Yes.
you that
Oh,
Yes.
when
yes.
you go to purchase a house and you try to save and you think this is the cost of the house, then the lawyer fee comes at you, then the
Oh
Mhm.
bank fee
yes.
comes
Oh
at you, and
yes.
no
There's
one no
interest.
one prepares, and the interest, and no one prepares you for this. And then I remember it was very interesting when a financial advisor said that you can stop and you can look at your surroundings and you can make a decision. Do you want to own a house? Do you think it's necessary to own a house? What are you aspiring to? Do you want to be the one to pay the gardener every month? Do you want to be the one to prepare for the hurricane? Do you want to be the one to be responsible for the repairs? Or do you want to go in a lifetime of renting and then preparing for the time when you're not renting anymore? And I found that very interesting because her point was, if you make a decision to rent to a specific time in your life and then save the balance for care, especially if you have no children, or, it depends on what your situation is.
Yes.
Are you going to live less than anyone else when you've cut out the extra responsibilities? And I thought about it and I said, but she says it's an individual decision that you'd have to make. But you have to
Absolutely.
make a choice
You have
between
to think about it.
renting and just not being responsible for all the other things that come along with that and repairs, in comparison to owning and all the bills that come with owning. And then I
Mhm.
started to think about, okay, that's true. If you own a house, yeah, every time something breaks, you got to
Right.
fix it.
It's yours.
But then it's yours. You have equity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are things we have to teach.
Absolutely. Karen Challenger says, good afternoon, ladies. Very good program as usual. Thanks, Karen. Mona Manigo, she says, I usually pay myself first, then essentials. Very, very good point.
Very
That's
good.
smart.
That is smart. Antigua Nice 3 says, I agree that handling finances should be taught from an early age. It may probably help persons who say, I don't like math. Very, very good point.
Very
Yeah.
important.
Very
Thank
Yeah.
you
good point.
so
Because
much.
there's so many persons who say, if I mention accounting, oh, I'm an accounting. Oh, yeah, you like math. I don't like math. And accounting is so much more than math. And
Yeah.
finance and financial literacy is so much more than math. Wanda Versal says financial literacy should also be taught at churches. Wow,
Yeah. That's
that is a good point.
that's a great
Never
point.
thought of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's something
Really
I've
good
seen
point.
introduced in like different women's ministry groups as
Mhm.
topics for the females in terms
Yes.
of managing their homes and
Yeah.
managing the finances of their house. Very, very
Wow.
thanks, Wonderful.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Something to think about. Benji, who is a pastor, says early education is key. If I was exposed to this type of information at an earlier stage of life, some decisions made before would be an absolute no. I agree with that. I believe that, like last week, we had our siblings on, and we were speaking about our childhood relationships with money. And after the show, a few persons reached out to me and were kind of discussing their early experiences with money, or as one of them said, lack of money. And I do believe if we were taught financial literacy when we were in school, perhaps some of the decisions we made, we wouldn't have made. So thank you
Very
so
different.
much.
I agree.
Yes.
So
Miriam
we're gonna wrap up.
Samuel
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had been
says,
done. Uh-huh.
when teaching, I used to say, when I go to work, I was resting from housework. And when I got home, I was resting from schoolwork. So I was always resting. The flip side is that you were always working too.
Exactly. But it's a good way to look at it.
Right. So that's it. Thank you.
Great. So we're going to wind down our show today. This has been a very interesting discussion.
Awesome.
And, we definitely want to thank Dr. Bowen for helping us with one of the first slices on our wheel of wellness. If you look behind Megan, she has the wellness wheel, and we are big on the wellness wheel. And there's 7 slices. There, of course, is financial, physical, emotional, mental,
Social.
environmental, social, and what did I forget? I
think
said physical.
You did
I said
say
physical. Yeah,
I'm not
I did say
seeing it clearly
physical.
myself.
Yeah.
Intellectual.
Intellectual.
Mhm,
Intellectual. So
Right.
those are the 7 slices, or the cogs on a wheel. And we know when it comes to your overall well-being, we want all of them to be in balance. Of course, it's something we're always striving to do, because it's all about self-improvement. We don't always get it right. But of course, once you're cognizant about the various aspects of the wheel, it allows you to zero in and address various aspects of your life.
Yep.
So we were delighted to have you, Dr. Bowen, talk to us about the physical aspect. I know in the past, when we've talked about physical, we've talked about exercise and what you need to do, which is a part of what you're talking about. But it was good to get some of the hardcore medical information in terms of the actual disease state areas that are affected or can be affected by financial stress.
Yeah.
So
I really
before,
appreciate this.
yes, no, this was wonderful. We would
Wonderful.
love to. You've shared so much with us, but we never end an episode, or we try not to end an episode without asking the question. And I'll start off. If I have an idea,
And you have an
Ava,
idea.
we both each have an idea, but it's when we bring these ideas together that the eureka moments can happen, and we can really do something magical by combining our ideas.
Yes.
So, in closing, is there an idea that you'd like to share with us? It could be related to financial stress or otherwise. We're here. We want to hear about you. I mean, I'd love to talk more about Cuba and what it was like living there and having that experience.
We're going to have her on for another show.
Yeah, she has to come back and tell us about Cuba. I haven't made it to Cuba yet, but I'm dying to go. I've heard
But
so
we
much.
will. I'll be going.
I definitely want to go. So share with us some idea that will take us through the rest of the week.
So the idea or the motivation for the rest of the week is to motivate another person. Before
Fantastic.
Friday is out, I need everyone who is on this show today to think of someone that they think may need a motivation, whether it be that they lost a job in COVID, or they may be entering into a new financial realm, and you're going to find a way or commit to doing something simple with that person. Whether it is, if you live near to them, you could do morning walks. That's going to benefit both mental and social health. If it's
Yes.
Friday afternoons that they need to unwind, and you're going to tell them, before you go home from work, we're going to sit in our uniforms somewhere on a Friday afternoon. And even if it's just to have a drink or coffee, alcohol, non-alcoholic, because, we're really promoting health. And if it's just even just a lemonade, and what is 1 hour out of your day to commit that 1 hour to someone else to bring them spiritual encouragement, and you're going to that way contribute to their health. So that is not going to cost you anything. It's not going to really cost you time. And if it's someone that is not in Antigua, it could be 1 hour of a phone call of just to see how that person is emotionally, mentally. Call them wherever they are in the world. And before Friday, you're going to take time out of your busy schedule just to do that.
Awesome.
And of course, tell us about it. Come back to our Facebook page and share it. And tell us what you did. You have doctor's orders. Please take the doctor's orders. We encourage
and in
everyone.
that, you will also bring some joy in life to yourself.
Absolutely.
So you not only, when you finish whatever it is you're going to do, you within yourself, you're going to have you're going to have that fulfilling moment. And
great way to start the weekend.
That's the way to start the weekend. So that's your one thing for this week. I have someone I'm going to call tomorrow for her birthday.
I'm thinking of someone I'm going to call as well. Right. Yeah. So I have a little idea, and it's not really an idea, but it's something I want to say to us all, especially the men. Please get your annual checkup. Correct, Dr. Bowen?
Yes.
Get your annual
And especially those who are over the age of 40, PSA time.
Okay. And I said especially the men, but women, you're not off the hook.
Yes.
Whenever it's your birthday, tie that in with going to get a regular checkup. Lots of larger or more serious diseases could be prevented or avoided if we just go and get our checkups. So
early detection, prevention.
Absolutely. So
fantastic.
You heard it from the doctor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because you can't get all your finances in line and then you fall ill. So you have to strike that balance.
It's about the wheel.
Money can buy only so much.
Mm-hmm. Get that wheel rolling.
Keep that and in balance.
In balance.
Well, this has been an amazing show. Thank you so much, Dr. Bowen.
It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have to come back. You definitely have to come back. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Um,
Great.
so to everyone, if you missed any part of the show, or if you want to do a watch it again, which I often do, of course, everything is on our YouTube channel. We invite you to go to Samuel Fields Consulting, our YouTube channel, subscribe so that every time we have a new show uploaded, you get that notification. Also, go to our Facebook page, like our Facebook page, drop us some comments, give us some feedback on the show. And of course, the doctor has given you some orders. We'd like to hear how those orders are carried out and how you continue to inspire others.
Yes.
So it's been a great show. We want to thank Aaliyah, part of our technical team. Aaliyah and Nicholas help us put this show together. It looks simple, but we have a great team. So they make our lives so much easier. And Megan, what are we talking about next week?
So next week, we're still on self-improvement, and we're going to be looking at the environment. We haven't finalized our guests as yet, but we're going to be looking at the environment, and I'm sure you'd all agree with me that we need to continue to take care of the environment. And those of us who haven't been taking care, it's time to take care of the environment. And by doing so, we'll be helping ourselves. So next week, we are going to be focusing on the environment, which is also part of our wheel. So look out for that next week. It's going to be exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I don't know if that's me or you, Dewey.
Yeah.
Okay, not sure. It's a little choppy.
I think it's Whitlock.
So I think she's frozen. So we want to thank all of you once again for tuning in and for sticking with us. We thank you, and we encourage you to invite others to join us every Wednesday, Likkle Byte Ideas. Dr. Bourne, once again, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you, and thanks to all our listeners and all the comments. I see the comments still coming in. We're reading them, and thank you.
Great discussion. Great. All right. Take care, everyone. See you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.